Amara saw a silent child under a lantern. A man watched and counted coins nearby. The child said, "I am lost." Amara had to choose what to do. Amara was a widow with 2 children. She sold pepper, onions, and palm oil. Her store was small and simple. The roof over her room leaked when it rained. She patched it with old sacks and rope. Chika was 10 and helped at the store. Zuri was 6 and liked to sing softly. They ate Cowrie with pepper most nights. Amara worked hard and kept them safe. The night market was busy and bright. Lanterns hung from sticks and swayed a little. Smoke rose from grills and stung the eyes. The smell of roasted plantain and suya was strong. People talked, bargained, and laughed in quick voices. Children ran between stalls and called to friends. Drums thumped in the distance near the square. A seller beat a tin to call buyers. A goat pulled at a robe and bleated. Amara counted the last peppers in a bowl. She planned to save for a new roof. She planned to buy shoes for Chika. She planned to buy a small slate for Zuri. She held these thoughts like small stones. She kept them playing and near her heart. Then she saw the child under the lantern. The child sat very still and watched the ground. White chalk marks lay on the child's cheeks. The child's eyes looked very steady and quiet. The child wore a small Cowrie anklet. It rested on a thin ankle and glinted. Amara felt a light, cool air near her. The night was warm, but that air was cool. The man who watched was Mazi Okoro. He sold charms and small gourds to travellers. He talked fast and smiled with thin lips. He liked to count coins and hide them. He had followed strange stories for many years. He liked to take and sell rare things. His eyes glowed when he saw the child. Amara stepped closer and knelt by the child. "Where is your mother?" she asked. The child looked up and said, "I am lost." "Where is your home?" Amara asked again. "The river path," the child said in a flat voice, "before the moon hides behind the clouds." Amara looked at the sky and the moon. Thin clouds were drifting from the west. She heard the far drum and market noise. She felt that cool air on her arms. Mazi Okoro came near and showed coins. "Woman, I will take this child," he said. "I know a place where she will belong. Take these coins and go to your house. You have 2 children and a leaking roof. You need palm oil to sell tomorrow. You need rest, not long night walking." Amara looked at the coins and then away. She saw Chika stacking onions at their store. She saw Zuri sleeping on a folded cloth. She thought of the roof and hunger. She thought of school fees and small needs. Her chest felt tight and her palms were wet. The child looked at her with steady eyes. "Please take me to the river path," she said, "before the moon hides behind the clouds." A soft anklet chime sounded. Amara stood and faced Mazi Okoro. "No," she said in a clear voice, "this child is not yours to sell." Mazi Okoro's smile was thin and sharp. "You make a mistake," he said. "You will regret this night." "I will take her," Amara said. "I will bring her back to the river path." She told Chika to close the store. "Take Zuri home with Mama and Kem," she said. "Lock the door and sleep near the wall. I will come when the cock calls once. Chika nodded and did not argue. He trusted his mother and watched her go. Mama Kem came at once and held Zuri's hand. "Are you sure, my dear?" she asked. "It will be fine," Amara said. "Please watch them till I return." Amara took the child's hand. The anklet felt cool next to her fingers. Another soft anklet chime sounded. Then she led the child out of the market. They turned toward the path that led to the river. They walked past dark huts and quiet courtyards. Lanterns flickered behind raffia doors and low windows. The night air smelled of wood smoke and spice. Crickets sang in the grass near the road. A dog barked once and then kept quiet. They left the last house and reached tall grass. The moon shone white on the tips of leaves. Fireflies floated low and blinked near their knees. The anklet chimes sounded light and close to the ground. "Do you have a name?" Amara asked. "I am a child," the girl said. "I will go home now." "How did you leave the river path?" Amara asked. "I sat to watch a fish jump," she said. "I stood, I turned, the path went away." Amara did not ask more and kept walking. The ground changed under their feet and dipped. Frog sounds rose from a wet place on their left. A breeze came from that side and smelled damp. Amara felt they were near a stream offshoot. She held the child's hand and moved with care. Anklet chime sounded softly from the dark grass ahead. They met the first test on the silent path. From the grass came voices that were known. "Amara," her mother's voice called, soft and sweet. "Come here. Leave the child and come here." Then she heard Chika's voice from the grass. "Mama, I am cold. I am afraid." Then she heard Zuri's small voice cry out, "Mama, please carry me. Please come now." Amara stopped and breathed and closed her eyes. She opened them and looked only at the ground. She did not look left or right at all. "These are not my people," she said. "My people are at home with Mama Kem." She held the child's hand tighter and walked on. The voices dropped behind them and faded away. They came to a place of 3 stones. The stones were carved and set in a triangle. The carvings were old and clean and deep. The child stood and looked at each one. Her eyes did not show any direction to take. "I do not know this place," the child said. "I cannot tell which way to go." Amara breathed and stood still for a time. She listened for water and wind and frogs. She felt the air on her face and arms. The breeze came from the path on the right. It smelled faintly of water and wet leaves. She moved to that path and knelt again. She touched the ground and felt it cool. "We will take this way," she said. "The river breathes from here." They walked and the grass brushed their legs. Far away, drums called and then fell quiet. A night bird cried and crossed the path. Amara's wrapper caught on a thorn and tore. She tied the loose end in a simple knot. The child did not stumble or slow down. Anklet chime sounded ahead of them on the path. They reached a clearing near the old road. Masked dancers passed with rattles and cloth. Their steps were heavy and then light together. Their masks were long and bright and strange. Amara bowed and lowered her eyes to the ground. She stood still and did not speak a word. The child stood close and did not move. The dancers passed, and the path was clear again. Amara lifted her head and walked forward. They reached the river path at last. The moon was half hidden by thin cloud. The water moved slow and dark by the bank. Frog sounds rose and fell around the stones. The small shrine stood a little to the side. It was made of smooth stones and white chalk. Calabashes sat on a flat rock near the water. Simple charms of string and shells hung from a branch. The place was quiet and clean and cool. Amara remembered Elder Nanana's rule from a meeting. He had spoken by the well in the square. "Return what is not yours," he had said. "Do not keep what the river will claim." She took water in her palm and touched the child's face. She wiped the white chalk marks very gently. She said, "I return what is not mine. I bring her back to the river path." She tore a small strip from her wrapper. She tied it on a branch above the shrine. She bowed her head and stood straight again. The child looked up at her and smiled. "In 7 nights you will understand," she said. She walked to the shallow water by the stones. She stepped in and stood for a small moment. A clear anklet chime sounded over the water. The child was gone. The water rippled once and then was smooth. Amara stood still and watched the quiet place. She felt the cool air leave the skin of her arms. She turned away and started back to the village. Quick pause, friends. If you're enjoying this tale, tap like and subscribe to Midnight Africana. Now back to the story. Amara reached home close to the cock's first call. Mama Nenkem opened the door with wide eyes. "You are back," she said. "Are you safe?" "I am safe," Amara said. "Thank you for watching them." Chika slept on a mat with Zuri by his side. Amara covered them with a cloth and sat down. She drank water and closed her eyes a moment. She thought of the child and the river path. She thanked the quiet night for giving her strength. Day 1 came with soft light and thin clouds. Amara went to the market with Chika. Zuri stayed with Mama Nkem and played. People talked of a strange child in the market. Some said the child was a sign of trouble. Some said a trader tried to buy the child. Mazi Okoro walked by and smiled in a strange way. He bought a stick of suya and ate slowly. He counted coins in his hand and looked at Amara. "Did you see a child last night?" Mamankem asked. "People are talking. They say many things." Amara washed a bowl and kept her voice calm. "A child was lost," she said. "I took her home." "Home where?" Mamankem asked and leaned closer. "Home by the river path," Amara said. "That is all." Few buyers came to the store that day. The market felt thin, and the coins were few. At night, Amara lay awake and listened. A soft anklet chime sounded near the window. She sat up and looked into the dark room. Zuri turned once and breathed in her sleep. Amara felt a small peace touch her chest. She lay down and slept until the cock called. Day 2 began with a rush and a small trouble. A basket broke as Amara lifted palm oil. The calabash slipped and hit the edge of a tray. Palm oil spilled over the floor and her feet. She sighed and cleaned it with old rags. She set the bottles again and wiped her hands. She felt tired and worried and a little sad. Do not cry, Zuri said and hugged her waist. I am not crying, Amara said. I am just tired. Day 3 brought a kind man to her stall. He was a traveller with a dusty bag. He asked for peppers and took a large pile. He paid double and shook his head when she objected. You are honest, he said. You weigh them, in my view. You did not hide bad ones under good ones. Thank you, Amara said, and bowed her head a little. She set aside a small coin for the roof. Day 4 was heavy with talk and fear. Mazi Okoro spoke to people by the gate. He said, Amara took what she should not take. He said she used strange gifts in the night. He said she brought danger to the village. A constable came by her stall near noon. He warned her to stay quiet and keep peace. Amara looked him in the eye and nodded. I will keep peace, she said. I do not seek trouble. The constable left, and the market noise returned. Amara kept her hands busy and her voice low. She sewed what she could and went home early. Day 5 was hot and close with little wind. Zuri played in the dust and then grew quiet. She leaned on Amara and felt very warm. Her small face shone with sweat and fear. Mama, I am cold, she said, and then shivered. Amara touched her head and felt the fever rise. She mixed water and wiped Zuri's skin. She prayed in simple words near the bed. She watched the door and waited for the night. Before dawn, a soft anklet chime sounded by the door. Amara looked up and held Zuri's small hand. Zuri's eyes opened and were clear and calm. The heat left her skin like a past storm. She sighed and smiled and asked for water. Amara gave her a little and said, Rest. She sat on the floor and covered her face. Tears came and then stopped, and she breathed slow. Day 6 brought Elder Nanana to her door. He was tall and thin and walked with care. He set a smooth chalked stone on her table. The chalk line was simple and bright and straight. Some thanks are quiet, he said. Some thanks do not need many words. Amara nodded and touched the stone with a finger. Thank you, she said in a small voice. Trade was still slow that day in the market, but the air felt safer near her stall. People greeted her and moved on with easy faces. Day 7 came with a grey sky before sunrise. Amara opened her door to sweep the floor. 3 sealed calabashes sat near the doorpost. Each calabash was clean and tied with white thread. Cowries lay on top of each as small seals. Amara stepped back and called for Elder Nana. He came at once and looked at the calabashes. He smiled and nodded and touched the cowries. Gifts from clean hands are safe, he said. You may open them in peace. Amara knelt and untied the first thread. She lifted the cowrie and set it aside. Inside she found a small doorway charm. It was made of string, a shell, and a bead. Elder Nanana nodded and told her how to hang it. Hang it above the main door for your children, he said. Amara hung it inside the door and breathed in. The room felt calm and still and gentle at once. She opened the second calabash with careful hands. Inside were cowries and a small market token. The token was carved with a front store sign. Elder Nanana read the markings and looked pleased. "This will give you a front store," he said. "The council will accept this token without a fee." Amara smiled and held the token to her chest. "Thank you," she said. "This will help my children." She opened the third calabash and paused. Inside, she found dry leaves and a short note. The note was in the child's neat hand. "For your farm when the sky forgets," it said. Amara stood and looked at the grey morning. She walked to her small plot behind the house. She shook the dry leaves over her rows of maize. She spoke simple thanks and turned to go. A soft anklet chime sounded from the path behind her. Light rain began to fall on the tilted rows. It was not heavy, but it was steady. The dry ground drank, and the leaves glistened. Amara stood and let the rain touch her face. She laughed once and clapped her hands softly. She went inside to tell the children the news. Mazi Okoro heard about the calabashes and came. He stood in the square and raised his voice. "These gifts break our rules," he said. "She took a strange child and now gets favors. This is not right for our village at all." The council gathered with Elder Nana at the front. People came near to listen with quiet faces. Elder Nana spoke in a level and plain voice. "A lost child was returned to the river path," he said. "Gifts from clean hands are safe in this place. We will not punish kindness in our village." The council nodded and dismissed Mazi Okoro's complaint. He turned away with a hard mouth and small eyes. He walked to his stall and counted his coins. He said nothing more in the square that day. Weeks passed, and the market days were good. Amara moved to a front store near the gate. More buyers came because they saw her first. She swept her space and kept her bowls bright. She weighed peppers fair and packed onions well. She smiled at children and helped old women sit. She shared food with a hungry boy at noon. She gave palm oil to a mother with no coins. She thanked each buyer and kept her voice kind. Her roof did not leak after the next rain. She bought sandals for Chika and new beads for Zuri. She saved small coins in a gourd near her bed. She slept better and woke with steady strength. Mama Kem teased her, but also looked proud. "Your hands stayed clean and your heart stayed brave," she said. Amara only smiled and shook her head once. One evening, the sun went down behind the trees. The lanterns in the market began to glow. Smoke rose from the grills, and people laughed softly. Amara closed her stall and tied her cloth. The air cooled as shadows reached across the road. A soft anklet chime sounded on the breeze near her ear. Amara looked at the dark path to the river. She saw only tall grass and the first fireflies. She smiled at the quiet place and whispered thanks. Then she turned and walked home to her children. If you do the right thing, good things can come back to you.